Co-editor of Jadaliyya and a Non-Resident Fellow at the Center for Conflict and Humanitarian Studies. He joins me now live from Montreal. Great to have you here with us on TRT World. So every time we have seen a pattern, Israel kills journalists, then there is condemnation and calls for so-called independent investigation. But when it comes to action, accountability, nothing. Do you think it would change anytime soon?
No, I don't. And let me explain why. As Dr. Mimi and Sayed explained, there's a systematic campaign to annihilate the journalists in the Gaza Strip. They began with journalists who work for Palestinian media. There was no international response. They then moved on to journalists who work for Arab media, most recently assassinating in premeditated fashion Anas al-Sharif, the most prominent journalist in the Gaza Strip. There was no response. Israel's various conspiracy theories were broadly disseminated and to a certain extent accepted. And when Israel understands that there's no response, it moves on to the next phase. It's now beginning to kill journalists who work for international news agencies like Reuters, like the Associated Press. And you'll have noticed today that right on cue, what I call the Hasbara Symphony Orchestra began putting out its vile lies and conspiracy theories that these people are all Hamas and all the rest of it, and kept going and going until a problem occurred that this was all caught live on camera, clearly demonstrating it was a deliberate attack on these journalists, followed 15 minutes later by a deliberate attack on journalists and rescue workers who had come to the scene. Netanyahu offers false contrition. The main story now is that Netanyahu apologized and said it was a mistake, which is inconceivable, given that Israel knew exactly what it was doing. And there will be no consequences because Israel understands that words are meaningless. Those who are issuing statements of condemnation and nothing but statements of condemnation also understand that their words are meaningless. It's kind of an informal agreement between Israel and its allies. So Israel now feels emboldened to continue with this campaign.
And Mouin, mistakes, when we talk about mistakes happen once. It's not a mistake if it's happening again and again. And we have seen it in Gaza that Israel continues to kill journalists, aid workers, healthcare staff members with impunity.
Yes, I mean, you don't commit genocide by accident. You don't kill more journalists and reporters in the space of 2 years in the posted stamp-sized territory of the Gaza Strip than have been killed in all conflicts in recent decades combined. That people are even willing to entertain Israel's version of events about anything, let alone about its systematic murder of journalists and reporters in the Gaza Strip, really boggles the mind. And the only reasonable conclusion that can be drawn is that Israel enjoys the full support of its sponsors and allies in continuing with this campaign until it achieves success. And the problem, of course, is that Israel is a world leader when it comes to killing women and children and civilian non-combatants, but has quite mediocre ground forces that are really incapable of seizing and holding territory and eliminating opposition military forces in those territories. And that's why this has been going on for so long and will continue for much longer unless and until it is called to a halt. It takes no more than a phone call from Washington or a decision by the European Union in Brussels, and this could end before this interview ends. But that's not going to happen anytime soon, unfortunately.
Why do you think that is the case?
Well, when you hear people like German Chancellor Merz saying Israel is doing our dirty work, when you hear other Western leaders and politicians saying Israel is our proxy, perhaps we should believe them. Perhaps they genuinely believe that Israel is their proxy for keeping the Middle East subordinated to their interests. That's really the only explanation I think that makes sense. They're telling us why they're supporting Israel. Why should we assume they're being dishonest?
Mouin Rabbani, thanks very much for joining me here on TRT World. I really appreciate your taking out the time.
Thank you.